So my name is Phillip Crawford. I am the co-chair of the Monterey County Nonviolent Action Committee, and I'm one of the members of the steering committee for this event today. I want to thank you all for being here.
Yay, Phillip.
I do want to thank the other members of the steering committee, Hector Azpilcueta, Gary Carnes, Elena Loomis, Stephen Goings, Alicia Ragsdale, and Natalia Molina. Let's give them a hand. And I also want to especially thank the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula. Speaker has been an attorney and volunteer activist with the American Civil Liberties Union for over 35 years, a member of the ACLU's Northern California Board, and a member of the Board of Directors of the Monterey County Chapter Board. She also teaches constitutional law at Monterey College of Law, and I always want to acknowledge the people who helped me become a lawyer. Steve Reese is here. He helped me become a lawyer. And our first speaker also was one of my instructors at law school, and I want to thank her for helping me get where I am. And let's have a warm welcome for Michelle Welsh.
Thank you. America, the land that never was and yet must be. That was Langston Hughes. The ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, has been defending our constitutional rights for nearly 100 years, challenging every president in office since Calvin Coolidge. Now we have President Donald Trump. As a candidate, President Trump promised to violate the United States Constitution. He promised mass deportation. He promised banning and registering Muslim people. He promised to criminalize a woman's right to choose an abortion. He promised to reintroduce torture. He promised to invade our freedom of speech. In other words, he promised to violate the First, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Eighth, and the 14th Amendments, our precious Bill of Rights. Our Constitution will prevent him from doing that. Our Constitution, though, is not self-executing. To paraphrase Justice Thurgood Marshall, our first African-American Supreme Court Justice, our Constitution is a wonderful document, but it has taken 200 years to apply it to us all. You know it didn't start out that way. It has taken all of us speaking up, filing lawsuits, demanding justice. We the people must stand up today, now, and remain standing for what we have always stood for. Our constitutional democracy is based on the idea that the legitimacy of government depends upon the consent of the governed. It is up to us to make it clear to President Trump that we do not consent. We do not consent to racism. We do not consent to xenophobia. Rolling back reproductive rights and a woman's right to choose. We do not consent to unequal treatment of any of our people. to upholding the Constitution as Donald Trump promised today, not just on Inauguration Day, but every day throughout the next 4 years and throughout the next 100 years.
Yes.
This is a resistance. We've called it that, haven't we? But it is much more than that. We are fighting for our country's progress, not just resisting, but becoming better, becoming that nation that yet must be. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we all here? Well, back in 1961, at the inauguration of John F. Kennedy, we all feel a little that way, don't we? She's just expressing how we feel. We're just too grown up to do it. All right. Yes. Back to 1961, the inauguration of John F. Kennedy. Asking why do we do this? The poet, Robert Frost, after the poem he wrote had blown away, must have been weather like this, he recited his poem, The Gift, outright. We don't have to do this. We know there are those who don't do it. But here is what Robert Frost had to say. Talking about our founders. The land was ours before we were the land's. She was our land 100 years before we were her people. Something we were withholding made us weak, until we found out it was ourselves that we were withholding from our land of the living. Such as we were, we gave ourselves outright to the land. Such as she was, such as she would become. What our country has become because our founders gave themselves outright is ours, their gift to us. What our country becomes is our gift to pass on. And as our local poet, Elliot Ruckowitz Roberts, who is here somewhere. Let's clap for him. As our local poet, Elliot, told us, in his poem Revolution, which he wrote in honor of the marriages that took place at San Francisco City Hall in 2004. He said, love is revolution's heart, not rage or hatred. So, we who love this country, we who love our Constitution, we who love our people and our freedom, let us recommit ourselves today, right now. Let us take the oath that President Donald Trump took today. Let us join him if we can, and fight him if we must, with all the power of the people.